You know that feeling, that little nagging sense that there's something more to you, something just beneath the surface waiting to be found? Well, it turns out that feeling is pretty much universal. Today, we're going to look at something really cool. This wild connection between a super ancient mystical system called the Kabbalah and the modern psychology of Carl Jung. What's crazy is they both seem to be pointing to the same thing. A map, really, for that exact quest for wholeness. All right, so here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll talk about that universal hunger for more. Then we'll look at the different ways people have tried to satisfy it. After that, we dive into two incredible maps for this journey: the ancient Kabbalah and Jung's modern psychology. And finally, we'll see how it all ties together into this one unified wisdom.
So let's start at the beginning. What even kicks off this whole journey in the first place? Well, it's this feeling that's just kind of baked into being human, isn't it? This deep, fundamental sense that we're not quite finished, and it pushes us to become more than what we are right now.
I mean, this question from our source just hits the nail on the head. Who really is? And look, this isn't about being down on yourself. It's about recognizing this incredibly powerful, built-in drive for growth. It's that voice that says, okay, that was great, but what's next? What else is there to me?
Bernard Shaw put it so well here. Imagine living forever, but never ever changing. It would be a nightmare. This tells you something really profound. Our desire to evolve is maybe even stronger than our desire to just exist. We don't just want to be here. We want to become something more.
And what I love about this slide is it shows just how this single urge pops up in a million different ways. You've got selfless charity, intense spiritual practice, and even just raw, unfiltered moments of letting loose. They seem like they're worlds apart, but nope, they're all coming from that same great urge to break out of our everyday skin.
Okay, so if we all feel this push, what have we done about it? Well, humanity has come up with two main strategies, really. Two completely different kinds of maps that are supposed to lead to the same place.
And this just lays it out so perfectly, right? In the East, the focus has traditionally been all about going inward, meditating, retreating, and reaching a certain state of consciousness. But in the West, it's been the opposite. It's all about looking outward, proving your worth by doing things, building hospitals, starting charities, and the source makes a great point. Both ways have their upsides and their downsides. You get cultures that are incredibly rich in one area, but might feel a little empty in the other.
So what's the destination for these paths, especially the ones from the East? It can all be boiled down to this one really powerful idea: yoga. And we're talking about way more than just the stretches you might do at the gym. This is about getting to a state of complete and total inner harmony. And there it is. That's the big secret. Yoga means union. All the other stuff, the breathing exercises, the poses, the meditation, that's not the point. Those are just the different roads you can take to get to the destination. The goal is that feeling of being completely connected, completely aligned with who you truly are.
So we all know about Eastern maps like yoga. But what's fascinating is that the West had its own incredibly detailed guide for the inner world. It's a system that, for a long, long time, had to kind of go into hiding to even survive.
And that system is the Kabbalah. Now, this isn't just some dusty old book of ideas. Think of it more like a living blueprint, a tree of life that helps you understand everything from the universe itself to your own mind and how to put all your pieces back together.
One of the ways the Kabbalah explains things is by breaking reality down into 4 worlds. A super simple way to get this is to think about building a house. First, you have the spark, the desire to build. Then, that becomes the general concept of the house. Then you get the detailed blueprints. And finally, you have the actual physical house. Now here's the wild part. For a Kabbalist, all 4 of those stages are equally real and essential parts of what makes the house.
Okay, now let's jump forward a few thousand years, because this is where a giant of modern psychology, Carl Jung, starts drawing a map of the exact same places, but he's using a totally new scientific language.
Jung's big revolutionary idea was the collective unconscious. He basically said that underneath all our personal stuff, our memories, our quirks, there's a deeper layer of the mind that we all share. It's like a psychic internet that connects us to every human who has ever lived. That's why myths and stories from cultures that never met can feel so strangely similar. They're all tapping into the same source code.
And this is where my mind was blown. Look at this. When you put Jung's modern terms right next to these ancient Kabbalistic concepts, the overlap is just uncanny. What Jung called the collective unconscious
Mystics have been calling the astral world for ages. What he called libido, not just sex drive, but all our psychic energy, is almost a perfect match for concepts like kundalini or the breath of God.
So what the source material argues is that these aren't just like each other. They are each other. It's the same reality, the same force. The only difference is the vocabulary, separated by thousands of years and completely different ways of looking at the world. It's one thing.
So what on earth does that mean? I mean, when an ancient mystical path and a cutting-edge modern science end up drawing the exact same map, well, that tells you you're probably onto something really, really important about how our minds work.
See, especially in the West, we've kind of smashed our wallet into a million little pieces. Science is over here, spirituality is way over there, logic and intuition are in separate boxes, and the source suggests that our big job now is to start putting all those pieces of Humpty Dumpty back together into one whole wisdom again.
By learning to see things from these different angles, like those 4 worlds of the Kabbalah, we can start to fix the glitches in our own thinking. We start to realize that the symbolic and the scientific, the ancient and the modern, they're not fighting each other. They're just different parts of a much bigger picture.
And that's really the bottom line. What this all shows is that Kabbalah and Jungian psychology are both incredible toolkits for the exact same project, the journey to becoming a whole person. One gives you this ancient symbolic map, and the other gives you the modern psychological language to actually read it and find your way.
So that kind of leaves us with this final question to chew on. If these systems are right, if they're all just maps of the same massive territory, then the quest for knowledge is truly endless. The territory is your own mind. The maps are here. The only question is, where do you want to go next?